Hello everyone, welcome back again to Dragon Age Inquisition. Last time we spent forever and a day traipsing around the hissing wastes trying to find Fade Touched by Rantium Samite for Vivian, Dorian, and Cole. But all we really ended up doing was taking in the scenery with nothing but experience to show for it. One thing that time did tell us is that my current rogue tank setup wasn't working, so before we head off in search of other Fade Touch materials, I've re-spec'd my Inquisitor to try a different skill rotation and see how that holds up in battle. Today we'll be looking for Fade Touched Nevarrite, and we're looking for the variant that procs Pull of the Abyss to help my rogue better manage groups of enemies and keep aggro. Nevarrite can be farmed in the Hissing Wastes, but everything I found online indicates that the Pull of the Abyss variant can only be found in the Jaws of Hakon DLC, specifically as drops from rifts in the Frostback Basin. The wiki says it's random, but I know from experience that the rifts always drop the same materials. It's just a matter of finding which rift drops the Nevarrite variant that I'm looking for. This is also where Fade Touched Lurker and Trusket skins drop. Both proc Veil Strike, which I also want from my rogue tank, but I pulled one of those from the Special Deliveries box, so I already have that in my current setup. Frostback Basin has a lot of great material and gear, and everything pays huge amounts of experience, but it's leaps and bounds more dangerous than other zones from the base game, especially when you're underleveled, like my team currently is. So we're going to have to be very careful. It's really easy to get into a fight, and then while you're in that fight, other random enemies that are walking around join in, and the fights get much bigger and much more out of hand than they typically do in other zones from the base game. So we're going to just focus on rifts, we're going to get in, get what we want, and then get out. And then I'll start going through the actual DLC later.
Exchange program from Starkhaven. While in Val, I've found something incredible. After 800 years, we may be able to determine the final resting place of the last Inquisitor.
The texts say that Inquisitor Ameridan was a dragon hunter who vanished on his last expedition.
Yes, precisely. I see you've read Lautrec's Precursors to the Chantry. Inquisitor Ameridan stepped down shortly before the Nevarran Accord brought the Seekers of Truth into the Chantry. He hunted demons, dragons, and dangerous apostates in a time before Templars even existed.
I'm all for history if it means tracking down the equipment of a famous demon hunter.
If the last Inquisitor has been missing for 800 years, it's only fitting that today's Inquisition help find him.
Your scouts have gathered artifacts from the area. They may help us discover what Inquisitor Ameridan was doing.
I have news as well. We've encountered hostile Avar to the north. They call themselves the Jaws of Hakon. There's also an Avar hold to the east. Unlike the Jaws of Hakon, they've been friendly so far.
The Jaws of Hakon?
They're hostile Avar who attack any Inquisition agents or researchers who get close. We've sent soldiers for defense, but the Hakonites are cunning, merciless, and know the basin better than we do. I'm afraid our men will not be able to hold out long. See you soon, Inquisitor.
Scout Harding has an impressive team. Her people brought back a number of artifacts.
If you need something tracked, Scout Harding is your woman.
If only it were that easy. After 800 years, we can't just look for tracks. Barring enchantment, cloth and leather will have long since rotted away. Only metal and stone remain recognizable. Complicating this are recent pieces the Avar left behind, and of course ancient pieces dating back to Tevinter. Fortunately, thanks to some period-specific buckling, I've been able to track our last Inquisitor.
You said there were pieces dating back to Tevinter?
Yes, while it's rare to see Tevinter ruins so far south, the Imperium once had an outpost of some sort here. They might have built it as a ritual site. I'm not sure what military value it could have. In any event, it's muddled up the research slightly, but I've accounted for it.
You lost me at buckling.
You'd think that a buckle was a buckle. But ever since people started belting on weapons, they've been adding bits. One piece here has a dragon engraving. With the alloys of the metals used, it's clearly Tevinter. While this one uses a clasp that wasn't invented until the dawn of the Elysian Empire. And when it comes to historical research, you might say we have to buckle down.
What do you have, Professor?
Everything so far points to the shore not far to the south. There was some sort of battle near the shoreline, and they were in a hurry. The scouts reported an island near an Avar fishing camp, but the Avar won't say much about it.
What makes you think the last Inquisitor was fighting?
There's a clasp here common to armorlings. It's clearly torn. That only happens from a heavy shearing blow, like large claws or an axe. Then there's the dagger. Silverite, with a stylized dragon pommel and an inscription reading Cordilis. That dagger had to be a gift from Cordilis Dracon, first Emperor of Orlais. No one would just lose such a thing.
What can you tell me about the Avar fishing camp?
Not much. It's the friendly Avar, not these jaws of Hakon barbarians. According to the scouts, they wouldn't say much about the area. Likely a local superstition.
I'll find a way to that island and see if there's anything useful there.
Excellent. I'll continue to study what's been found. With luck, we'll both find some answers. Also, one of my research assistants, Colette, was investigating an old structure to the north. I'm not certain it's related to our investigation, but it couldn't hurt to check with her.
The first rift is right outside this initial camp. It's just to the left here. See there what I mean about the zone being dangerous. I had full life, half full guard, and some barrier, and that elite enemy just knocked me down to near death with a single attack. Honestly, that went way better than I was expecting. I figured I'd be deleting this portion of the video after I failed miserably. Look at that experience. I mean, it's insane compared to what you would pull in other areas of the game for this level. If you can survive this zone early, you can bulk up really, really quickly. Now for the loot. I mentioned during my last video that leaving an item behind from the rift loot will cause it to respawn when you return to the zone. This is where you abuse the hell out of that. If I loot everything from this and leave one item behind, I can leave the zone and come back here where there's no enemies to worry about and loot this again and again. Look at that. Veil quartz is that tier 4 metal I mentioned in the previous video. In a short amount of time, you can have a ton of this stuff just by doing this. So you can start crafting high damage weapons and more defensive armor much earlier than you would if you were just focusing on, like, say, killing dragons for tier 4 material like you had to do in the base game. What I recommend for this strategy is to clear 2 or 3 rifts from the Frostback Basin before you start doing that. That way you can hit multiple reloaded loot spots per run before you have to fast travel and then zone back. That way you're minimizing your load times. Apart from the crafting materials, this axe is also more expensive than the item that I was using when I duped for cash earlier in the game. And you're going to pick up a bunch of items like this as you keep returning to each of these loot spots. So you're going to have a lot of cash left over, or better items to duplicate for even more cash, depending on how much you need. Now let's see if we can find the rift that has my Fade Touch Nevarrite. We want to make sure we hit as many camps as we can along the way. This is going to facilitate fast travel and allow us to pop in closer to the rifts that we want to re-loot when we start doing that. Here's another rift. It's just a short walk from that very first camp right there. So now we've got two that are almost immediately adjacent to spots that we can quickly fast travel to. Let's give this one a try and see how it goes. Come on, Fade Touch Nevarrite. Yes! Oh, never mind. It's the wrong variant. Remember, every Fade Touched has two variants, and this one is not what we're looking for. But that Savage Thorn Dagger that procs Guard is kick-ass, by the way. So if you haven't crafted something better, I would say start using that as soon as you get it, and use it for a good long while, because it's really handy. Now, somewhere east of here, we should find another rift along a river that has a camp just north of it. And I'm pretty sure that's the Fade Touch Silverite rift, which has that same procs guard on hit. So it's not going to have the Nevarrite that I'm looking for, but we're going to hit it anyway just because it's another spot that we can get Veil Quartz from when we return to the zone for that. Should be somewhere just past that wall. There we go. This rift, it's frickin' gold. Without Jaws of Hakon, you have to farm Fade Touch Silverite by save loading through Silverite-rich areas of Emprise du Lion over and over again, hoping for the right Fade Touched variant. With Jaws of Hakon, you have a guaranteed unlimited supply right here. So now we have access to unlimited Tier 4 metal through Veil Quartz, as well as an unlimited supply of one of the best Fade Touch materials in the game, which is the Fade Touch Silverite that procs guard. Okay, so not quite north of it, but still ridiculously close. So now we have 3 rifts in the immediate vicinity of 3 different camps that we can fast travel to. This camp can actually be a little bit of a pain to claim and to leave via fast travel. Because of the way the lurkers spawn and they always either attack you or the nearby bogfishers or Truskets, there's always a battle happening in this area, and it can be difficult to get out of combat long enough to claim the camp or to be able to fast travel. See what I mean. Alright. Let's give this rift a try also. Another one that's very close to a camp. Okay, this one looks to be the same loot table as that very first rift we did, but we'll still take it anyway because it's got more veil quartz.
Over there. Can we help?
So you remember when we first got to the zone, that researcher mentioned that his assistant was missing? This is her. And if I remember correctly, the quest line that she's going to start for you right here, it ends in a string of permanent stat boosts. So it's definitely worth doing. I don't remember there being any particularly awesome loot, but the stat boosts alone are great.
Get back! Inquisitor. Still finding it difficult to breathe. But I'm not strewn across the landscape, so thank you. I'm Colette, Professor Kenrick's research assistant. I was hoping to conduct a survey of a Tevinter ruin in the hills. I may not have chosen the best route.
You're Kenrick's research assistant, so that makes you a student at the University of Orlais?
It does? Why?
Orlesian institutions aren't always accepting of elves.
So the glances and loud whispers remind me. The university accepts those worthy of admission, though elven students are few.
How do you find it there?
It's not easy, but this is what I want. And I like working for Professor Kenrick. Elven research students, where publications concerned, their work's often deemed not substantial enough for formal credit. But Kenrick cares about people who want to learn. If our research finds an audience, I know my name will be included.
What were you hoping to find at the ruin?
The Tevinter's time here was brief, but their architecture endured, offering shelter, forming landmarks. Ancient Avar would have encountered these structures, which certainly predate Inquisitor Emeridan. Evaluating the ruins could offer insight into the region's history, once I can get set up.
You're still going there?
I've read everything we have on Emeridan, and studied up on new excavation techniques. I won't waste this opportunity. If you've a map, I can show you my destination, if you'd be interested in the findings.
Stay safe.
I will.
Barbwood, a parasitic tree that grows through the body of its host. Useful in alchemy, makes terrible furniture.
What sort of uses does it have?
The sap makes potent restorative potions. Extracts from the leaves are useful for transmutations. Harvesting either one is too dangerous to attempt often. More's the pity.
This is the one that's floating over the middle of a building, and I remember this being one of the more difficult rifts in the zone. I tell you, one of these days I'll get this damn skill set sorted out and my guy won't beat past enemies for no reason. This is going way easier than I there we go. I'm remembering right. There should also be a fire demon here. Oh, 2 fire demons. Okay. Haven't had a full wipe yet in this playthrough. Anyone else feel it coming on? This is a freaking mess. I fully expected to not make it through that one. Barely made it. this is more loot that we've already seen, but just like the last one, we're going to take it just for the Veil Quartz. We'll leave one item behind so that if we happen to be in this area again, we can loot it again. Okay, this one's not going to be any better than the last rift for sure. I remember this one being the worst rift in the zone, but let's give it a go and see where we end up. Well, that went about as well as I was expecting. Here's hoping the rift that's to the west of here has the Nevarrite that I want, because I won't be killing those 3 pride demons anytime soon.
Inquisitor? What do these jaws of Hakon have against me? Perhaps the friendlier Avar in the village Harding mentioned can shed some light.
Nevarrite. Fuck. Well, the Nevarrite's going to have to wait, but at least I've netted a ton of top-tier crafting materials that I can use to better my situation before we come back here. Before we leave, we're going to grab this nearby camp, give the map another once over just to make sure there aren't any other rifts that we've missed. Alright, let's get out of here. Now, Vivian underwent a big change during that cut, and we'll get to that once we reach our destination. Right now, we're going to be heading to Emprise du Lion to kill a ton of Snoufleurs. Fade Touch Snoufleur skin is great in either one of its variants. One gives you 1% of the damage you deal to enemies back as health, and the other procs the warrior skill Horn of Valor, which increases your damage and your armor for the entire party, regardless of where they are. It's not a radius-based skill. It works on everybody as soon as it procs. It's awesome. And Horn of Valor, once we get that, Vivian's new setup is going to be complete.
Inquisitor,
Scout Harding.
we're on the outskirts of Sarnia. This is what's left of the town. The lucky ones got out before the river froze over. The rest, penned in by Fade Rifts and Red Templars. We're the first friendly face they've seen in a long, long while.
I should look in on the townsfolk, see what they can tell me.
I'm sure they'll appreciate it. The Red Templars have been mounting frequent attacks. They want Emprise du Lion. Bad. Let's get out there and take it back from them.
Inquisitor, I have something for you.
Too many.
Now, there are 2 rifts that we have to take care of on this frozen lake before we can get started. The first one is right here. Compared to Frostback Basin, this is going to be a cakewalk. There's the second rift. Okay, now that the rifts are clear, we just have to run around the frozen lake in circles, just running around this little middle section here. And we're going to kill the Snoufleurs as they spawn. Occasionally, a pack of wolves or a great bear will show up, but for the most part, there's nothing aggressive here. This is just a super easy farming location. And with the even ground trial running, the enemies are always scaling to your level, so we can keep them at a high enough level to continually get experience while we're doing this. So it's a win-win. Another plus, so a win-win-win, is that when this is over, we're going to end up with a ton of Snoufleur skin, just the regular kind for crafting, which is a tier 3 leather, so it's already great. And it's got dexterity, which is awesome for making the high damage rogue setups.
There she is. It was like...
Alright, so now that we're farming, let's talk about Vivian. Now, I knew that I needed a way to break through enemy guard, which was the big issue against those 3 pride demons in the Frostback Basin. So I did a quick run to the Emerald Graves and I ran through to the north end of the zone. I skipped everything as I went so you guys aren't missing anything. And when I found a Stormheart node, I just save loaded in front of it until I got the Fade Touch Stormheart variant that I wanted, which has a 10% chance to proc Shield Bash. Happily, it only took a couple minutes. Now, Shield Bash, for anyone that doesn't know, deals significant damage to enemy guard, which has to be destroyed before you can deal damage to their health bar. So now I just needed a good delivery system. And then I remembered Energy Barrage, which is a mage skill that fires 12 projectiles at your target. And that's when I remembered something else, something that synergizes insanely well with the Night Enchanter, something that I had used when I did my Nightmare Night Enchanter solo back when, before I put the game away for several years. And that's the Blade of Tidarion, or Tidarion, however you want to say it. It's an elemental greatsword and is the only mage usable melee weapon in the game. All other elemental swords are warrior specific. What's special about the Blade of Tidarion is that since it's a sword and not a staff, you can add an elemental rune to it, making it deal 2 types of elemental damage. And when you pair this with Energy Barrage, the 12 projectiles from the skill get doubled. You get 12 projectiles for each element on the weapon, so that's 24 hits total. You can see it at work right now, and what you're seeing is Walking Fortress proccing with nearly every use. Walking Fortress is only a temporarily part of this build. I put it on the temporary Blade of Tidarion that I made just to test this out. But it's the same proc rate that Shield Bash has, so it's all but guaranteeing that Shield Bash is going to tear through enemy guard when she uses Energy Drain. Pair this with what I'm going to make after this farming is done, where she's going to have a 10% chance to proc Horn of Valor, and we're going to be destroying enemy guard and ripping them a new one with increased attack damage. A dual element Blade of Tidarion, it's basically the Night Enchanter meta, and I can't believe I forgot about it. So once I get the Snoufleur skin, I'll be crafting Vivian a tier 4 Blade of Tidarion with the Veil Quartz that I picked up from the Frostback Basin. And since she's now constantly going to be close range fighting, I also gave her Andraste's Sacrifice. So my rogue tank as well as Vivian will be proccing an AoE taunt that's going to be giving them guard. And it's going to, so they'll both be in the thick of it. And Vivian doesn't need help to survive anyway, but the guard is going to make her even more tanky. And with the 2 of them proccing AoE taunt, it's going to make it much easier for Cole and Dorian to stay alive. I ended up getting the Horn of Valor Snoufleur skin pretty quickly, and I stuck it out a bit longer to get the 1% heal variant as well. I'm going to put that on my Inquisitor. I had been using envenomed weapons to handle the healing from combat damage, but it runs out too quickly and I feel like I'm constantly needing to reapply it, so it's too much micromanagement. This way I'll be able to save envenomed weapons to use more sparingly when I need more health quickly. And another plus to having stayed around and farmed the Snoufleurs a little bit longer is that I now have more than 700 Snoufleur skins for all my rogue crafting desires. Now to craft a Tier 4 Blade of Tidarian with Horn of Valor, and some new Tier 4 armor with Snoufleur heal for my Inquisitor. Quick stop in Frostback Basin to pick up some more Veil Quartz. Yeah, I went the wrong way there, my bad. Now for some crafting. Let's take a look at the new Inquisitor setup. Initially, I had said that I was going to be doing tier 4 armor, but I didn't have any tier 4 leather, so I had to go with tier 3. And then I remembered something else that I'd forgotten in the almost 5 years since the last time I played this game. There are 3 tier 3 materials, 1 metal, 1 leather, 1 cloth, that if you use them as the primary material for whatever armor you're making, it'll remove the class restrictions. The metal that removes class restrictions for warrior-specific armor is Silverite. So I used Silverite to craft tier 3 warrior armor for my rogue tank, and this gives better defense than tier 4 rogue armor. And I spec'd it all for survivability rather than pumping dexterity to maximize damage. I also added something for cold resist because at some point I'm going to have to finish the Jaws of Hakon DLC, and there's going to be a lot of ice damage there. So in short, my previously squishy rogue tank is going to have a lot more fun going forward. For Vivian, I created tier 3 mage armor for the same reason as before, because I didn't have any tier 4 material to use as a base. I added the Fade Touch Stormheart's 10% shield bash proc, pumped magic for stronger spells, willpower for more MP for more spells, and cunning to increase crit chance, which takes advantage of her Inferno passive that makes spells have no cooldown after a crit. Then I duped the robe and gave it to Dorian. Enemy guard is no longer a concern. After that, I made Vivian's new tier 4 Blade of Tadarian. It's lightning based because of the Veil Quartz. I added a top tier fire rune so it has 2 types of elements. It was also made with the Fade Touch Snoufleur skin to have a 10% chance to proc Horn of Valor. So anytime we use Energy Barrage, we're gonna get 24 projectiles. We're all but guaranteed to proc Horn of Valor, and we're gonna tear through enemy guard. It's gonna be awesome. Now, to finish up this video, let's hit that Frostback Basin rift with some vengeance. As you can see, it's a totally different fight. And there was much rejoicing. There is my Pull of the Abyss Nevarrite. Finally. That's going to do it for this video. When we come back, I'll have crafted a new tier 4 dagger for my Inquisitor, and we'll be ready to start having some real fun. I think it's time for some dragon slaying. Tune in next time.